Now, the United States killed al-Qaeda leader Ayman Al-Zawahiri in a drone strike in the Afghan capital of Kabul, a strike carried out by a CIA-operated Air Force drone. A wanted terrorist and a key mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks had found a safe house in Taliban-ruled Afghanistan. US President Joe Biden authorized a precision strike using 2 Hellfire missiles. It's a big win for America, but also one that has thrown up questions about the Taliban's role in providing a sanctuary to the al-Qaeda leader, especially at a time when the Taliban has been eyeing international recognition since taking over Kabul last year. So the question is, what does this mean for the Taliban, and what about the countries who are helping Taliban get recognition and aid? And is this going to provide a boost to Biden's sagging political ratings? Hello and welcome to WION. My name is Saroya and you're watching The Full Context.
يقول حق تبارك وتعالى
مجاهدين جماعة إبراهيم البدري الذين صاروا أسوأ من الخوارج.
Now, justice has been delivered, and this terrorist leader is no more.
المؤمنون حقا والمؤمن لا يودع منه.
The United States has killed al-Qaeda leader in a drone strike in Kabul. President Joe Biden authorized and helmed a months-long operation from tracking al-Zawahiri to taking out the world's most wanted terrorist and also one of the masterminds of the 9/11 attacks. Joe Biden, who was in isolation due to COVID, emerged to proclaim victory on the White House balcony.
My fellow Americans, on Saturday, at my direction, the United States successfully concluded an airstrike in Kabul, Afghanistan, that killed the emir of al-Qaeda, Ayman Al-Zawahiri. Now, justice has been delivered, and this terrorist leader is no more. That no matter how long it takes, no matter where you hide, if you are a threat to our people, the United States will find you and take you out. The United States did not seek this war against terror. It came to us. We answered with the same principles and resolve that have shaped us for generation upon generation: to protect the innocent, defend liberty, and we keep the light of freedom burning, a beacon for the rest of the entire world, because this is a great and defining truth about our nation and our people. We do not break. We never give in. We never back down.
Now, Joe Biden concluded the speech by expressing gratitude to the intelligence community of America. He said that the CIA had been tracking the al-Qaeda leader, chalking out an elaborate plan to carry out the strike for months. Al-Zawahiri was sheltering in downtown Kabul. He went there to reunite with his family. The strike was carried out by a CIA-operated Air Force drone. Al-Zawahiri was last seen standing on the balcony of his safe house. Taliban spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid went on to say that the nature of the incident was not apparent at first, but the strike was carried out by an American drone. And prior to Joe Biden's announcement, Taliban called America out for violating international principles and Doha agreement. All this further added to embarrassment. You see, ever since Taliban took over Kabul, they've been seeking international legitimacy and recognition, setting up governments, cabinet, departments, holding diplomatic meetings, discussions, pushing for representation time and again. The Taliban have been claiming of a terror-free Afghanistan, that there were no foreign fighters, no al-Qaeda, no terror organizations operating on Afghanistan's soil. Here's a press conference from last year. Listen to what the Taliban spokesperson said when questioned by our Pakistan Bureau Chief, Anas Malik.
What happens to your relationship with al-Qaeda? Are you willing to give that up, or are you willing to give an assurance who will be the leader?
One question.
This is my question. So who will be the leader from the Taliban who can possibly lead the peace of Afghanistan now that in the absence of a leadership when President Ghani is not here? Thank you.
We will not allow any foreigners who wish to harm or threaten the security of other countries, any space in Afghanistan. And we have assured this. As for your second question, as for the government setup, we are still working on it, and hopefully we'll reach the stage soon.
Now, joining us live for more on this is our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik from Islamabad. Anas, al-Qaeda leader killed by US drone strike. What can you tell us of the implications of this? What does this mean for al-Qaeda and the Taliban going forward?
Well, last question first. What does it mean for the Taliban? The Taliban are in a fix right now because their position essentially has been compromised. And to understand that, one really has to dissect the relation between al-Qaeda and the Taliban, because it is historical, it is generational, and it is more to do with the families, because there are intermarriages that have taken place between Taliban men and people from al-Qaeda and from their families, and vice versa. So currently they're in a fix because the Taliban had been claiming to not being giving any safe haven to any terror organizations, but clearly that was not the case. And we have seen that in the United Nations Monitoring Team report, the UNMT report, concerns have been raised about al-Qaeda's presence, the Tehrik-e-Taliban, the ETIM, ETIM and other terror organizations as well, who are present very much inside the Afghan territory and continue to operate from there. So the implications of this, what has happened, for the Taliban, they're in a complex situation right now. They're in a fix because there would be a trust factor, a trust deficit on the part of these two terror organizations, because the Taliban would, because the al-Qaeda would rather be very well thinking that this can be a tip-off by the Taliban to the Americans in the negotiations, in the extensive negotiations that the two have been having, that the Americans and the Taliban have been having in different parts of the world. But what does it mean for al-Qaeda? Well, it's a bigger blow. 70-year-old Ayman Al-Zawahiri took charge about 11 years back, and he was the second in command to Osama bin Laden. After Osama bin Laden was killed, that's when Ayman Al-Zawahiri rose to power. So his position and somebody of his stature being killed is a bigger blow to al-Qaeda by and large.
Right. Well, Anas, thank you so much for bringing us all the updates on that. Also joining us on this broadcast is Lieutenant Colonel Mordechai Kedar, former senior IDF military intelligence officer, an Israeli scholar of Arabic culture and a lecturer at the Bar Ilan University, an academic expert on Israeli Arab population. He served for 25 years in IDF military intelligence, where he specialized in Islamic groups, the political discourse of Arab countries, the Arabic press and the mass media and the Syrian domestic arena. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. How do you assess the impact of the killing of al-Qaeda leader and the fallout of this?
Well, first of all, it is a blow for al-Qaeda, no doubt, but we have already seen how leaders are being getting rid of. Osama bin Laden, Qasem Soleimani, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and we saw Abdullah Azam. Many leaders of the jihad were gotten rid of. But with the time, the jihad is not dead. A man can be dead, but the idea of jihad is still alive and kicking, and unfortunately alive and killing as well. And it will take time. It could be a month, 2 months, 3 months until a new leader will be elected. With the time, he will accumulate knowledge and experience, and he might be even more dangerous than Ayman Al-Zawahiri. So it's good that Ayman Al-Zawahiri was taken out from the game, but the game is not over. On the contrary, now they want to take revenge against what happened on Saturday. So we are in a constant fight against the jihad, and unless the West convinces all the jihadists that their battle is lost, they will continue to fight.
Right.
And this is the problem with the jihadi idea.
Right. Well, Lieutenant Colonel Kedar, you raise a very pertinent point there. Now, my second question to you, the Taliban has been seeking legitimacy and international recognition, but what does this latest development mean for them also, who had been mediating efforts to get aid for Afghanistan?
Well, definitely they came out very bad in this issue. What I think, personally, I didn't investigate it, But I think that what happened is that the Taliban is not one person. In Taliban, there are many people, many ideas, and they are under one umbrella named Taliban, but different people behave in different way. Apparently, some politicians of the Taliban definitely do not want al-Qaeda to operate from Afghanistan as it was until 2001, and they remember what happened because of this, while others who want to continue with the cooperation with al-Qaeda allowed Ayman Al-Zawahiri to come to Kabul and even to sit there and to live there as long as he's quiet. Okay, this is what I think. I didn't investigate it, but this is what apparently what happened.
Right, absolutely, but we have to talk about this. It is the people of Afghanistan that will be directly affected, if at all. How do you see the situation playing out going forward then?
Well, unfortunately, nobody really asks the people of Afghanistan what they want and what they do not want. There are so many factions, there are so many ethnic groups, there are so many tribes, so many groups in Afghanistan that really, in my humble view, there is no Afghani nation, because there are Aymakis and Baluchis and Hazara and Azeris and Pashtuns and all kinds of ethnic groups. They never became one nation because they don't get married with each other. They don't mingle with each other. They have different languages. In India, at least you have the English to shape a country. But India also is divided to all kinds of cultures. And you know it better than me. Afghanistan is the same thing. And they don't have English as the common language. So they kill each other.
All right. Well, Lieutenant Colonel Kedar, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast with your analysis.
Thank you so much.
Now, the US drone strike that killed Zawahiri was the product of months-long planning and operations, which included highly covert planning by the Biden administration, a tight circle of his senior advisors. For Biden, the opportunity was fraught with the risk of accidentally killing civilians in the Afghan capital, especially after US drone killed civilians in Afghanistan 11 months ago. Details of the strike and planning were disclosed by a senior administration official as Biden was preparing to announce the mission. And this time, no civilians were killed. It's a moment of victory for a president who has been embroiled by domestic political troubles that stretch back to the chaotic Afghanistan withdrawal a year ago. Biden dubbed the killing of al-Qaeda leader as one of the last outstanding deaths of vengeance of the September 11th attack. He vowed to prevent the war-torn South Asian country from again becoming a safe haven for terrorists.
Last year on September 11th, I once more paid my respect to Ground Zero in New York City, at that quiet field in Shanksville at the Pentagon, standing in the memorial at Ground Zero, seeing the names of those who died forever etched in bronze is a powerful reminder of the sacred promise we made as a nation. We will never forget.
Now, President Joe Biden was first briefed about Zawahiri's location in April. American officials had been aware of a network supporting the terrorist leader in Kabul for months, and they had identified his wife, daughter, children through multiple streams of intelligence. US officials then began to establish patterns at the house, including Zawahiri emerging periodically to the balcony every day. Secret efforts began just to analyze the building's construction and the structure here. The priority for Biden and the members was avoiding civilian casualties, including the members of Zawahiri's family who were living in the building. The building was located in downtown Kabul. It had its own challenges. On the 1st of July, Biden gathered key national security officials in the White House Situation Room. CIA Director Bill Burns, Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood Randall, all sat around the table. On the 25th of July, as he was isolating due to COVID in the White House, Biden brought his team back for a final briefing. At the end, he authorized a precision-tailored airstrike to take out the target. 5 days later, 2 Hellfire missiles were fired into the balcony of the safe house in Kabul at 6:18 a.m. local time. Multiple streams of intelligence confirmed that Zawahiri had been killed. Members of his family who were in the area or inside the building were unharmed. Al-Qaeda leader Ayman Al-Zawahiri was an architect behind multiple assaults on the United States. The 71-year-old terrorist was deeply involved in the planning of the September 11, 2001 terror attacks. He was born in 1951, grew up in an upper-class neighborhood in Cairo, Egypt. He was the son of a prominent physician, grandson of a renowned scholar. Zawahiri was imprisoned for his involvement in the 1981 assassination of Egyptian President Anwar Sadat. By this time, Zawahiri was a young doctor and also already a committed terrorist who conspired to overthrow the Egyptian government for years. Zawahiri proudly endorsed Sadat's assassination after the Egyptian leader made peace with Israel. Zawahiri left Egypt in 1985, made his way to Peshawar, Pakistan. He worked as a surgeon treating the fighters who were engaged with the Soviet troops in Afghanistan. That is where Zawahiri met Osama bin Laden. The two became close, linked by their common bond as Afghan Arabs. At one point, he also acted as bin Laden's personal physician. Al-Zawahiri played a key role in al-Qaeda's major attacks, suicide bombings of the United States embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, killing more than 200 people and wounding more than 5,000 others. The attack on the US vessel in Yemen in October 2000, killing 17 American sailors, wounding 39 others. The culmination of Zawahiri's terror plotting came on the 11th of September 2001. Now, it was a moment of victory for the US President. Joe Biden has been embroiled in domestic political troubles, starting from the chaotic withdrawal in Afghanistan a year ago. Back in 2011, though, when President Barack Obama came before the cameras to announce the death of Osama bin Laden, it was the most dominant story of the time, accepted with disbelief, pain, tears, a sense of relief. That was a central point in then Vice President Joe Biden's tenure. This seems to be the second act of this story. The killing of Osama bin Laden's successor and the co-architect of 9/11 attacks will be big news for a few days, but nothing like the bin Laden killing. The achievement is the result of the determination of the United States to avenge the deaths of the 9/11 victims. It is a tactical achievement. One, to find al-Zawahiri, to take him out without injuring members of his family or any civilians.
That no matter how long it takes, no matter where you hide, if you are a threat to our people, the United States will find you and take you out.
Now, another important facet of this, it seems that the Taliban had opened their country to a key figure, the architect of the 9/11 attacks, and al-Zawahiri's presence means that there might be others with malevolent intentions. In all likelihood, though, what we do know is that Biden will get a bump in his approval ratings, as Obama and Trump did when bin Laden and Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi were killed. But what is next in this fight? Now, to understand this, joining us now is Fahim Sadat, former professor, Qadan University, joining us from Germany. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. What does this mean for both the United States and also, of course, the Taliban and al-Qaeda going forward?
I think for the United States, it's a victory. And also, this will embolden the claim of the Biden administration that over-the-horizon operations were effective tools, rather for the presence of the American boots on the ground to eliminate or counter threats to the American people. This operation will prove that. To the Taliban, I do believe that there has been a certain amount of cooperation, but what is not yet certain is that whether this cooperation has happened organized, like in an organizational structure form, or by some elements within the Taliban movement about the whereabouts of the al-Qaeda leader in Kabul. This definitely puts the Taliban in a difficult situation because this will have long-term implications, particularly if the cooperation of the Taliban with the Americans on this operation is confirmed. This will alienate their hardliners and also some of the file and ranks of the Taliban questioning and also a suspicion would strengthen that why are the Taliban or why have the Taliban cooperated with the Americans, emboldening also the claim of Daesh that the Taliban are now colluding with the US.
Right, now you said that this is a victory for the United States, of course, but how do you assess the impact of this for Joe Biden's presidency?
I think people will also question the Doha agreement because President Biden clearly mentioned that as part of the Doha agreement, the Taliban will not develop or not have any sort of connections with terrorist groups, but the presence of the al-qaeda leader in Kabul, particularly in a very elite resident area, proves that what was claimed of the Doha agreement, the situation on the ground is different, and the al-qaeda leader was in Kabul, which shows that the Taliban do have a relationship with them and are continuing on their relationship. So these are the questions the Biden administration has to answer. But as I said before, still this is a tactical victory for Biden, and also this will develop further the dependence of the administration on over-the-horizon operations across the globe in countering threats that are faced by the Americans anywhere in the world.
Right, absolutely. Now, earlier we were joined by Lieutenant Colonel Kedar, who said that there may be a new leader announced in the next few months, but it is the ideology that continues. So where do you think we are with this latest development in the global fight against terrorism?
I think the coherence within the al-Qaeda is no more there, and also there has been a lot of decentralization. The Taliban, the al-Qaeda groups were already autonomous in different parts of the world, but the character, the personality, and also the strategic vision of the al-zawahiri was of prime importance, that which also factored in still having a loosely centralized network. Now, I think this will further localize and regionalize the al-Qaeda network, and there will be further autonomy unless the new leader really asserts himself and changes the eventuality for the network. Now, I believe this will weaken further the overall effectiveness of the al-Qaeda across the globe.
All right. Well, Mr. Saad, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast.
You're welcome.
And with that, we call to wrap on today's episode of The Full Context. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.